I was hurting so bad. So, all right, let me go buy me a Benz today. I might be hurting. Let me get a fur coat. And it was all, not that I even cared about any of that. It was just a camouflage in my pain. Everything I did was camouflage in my pain. It was meaningless to me. Anything I wanted, I would get. And they was like, this girl was on fire. And they giving me all these bragging rights, but I'm hurting so bad because now I just heard my mother got AIDS.
Comrades, welcome to another episode of Not All Hood. Shontel Greene's life is the epitome of what I call the pivot. At 14 years old, to keep her drug-addicted mother from having their house foreclosed, Shontel sold drugs to make money. A straight-A student with perfect attendance by day and drug queenpin by night, by 17, she built a multi-million-dollar drug empire that spanned from Baltimore to New York. In this episode, Shontel shares the not-so-glamorous side of the drug underworld and how her ever-present entrepreneurial mentality drove her to building a multi-million-dollar holistic healthcare business. Shontel's journey is definitely a testament to the power of determination and resilience and the pivot. Enjoy the conversation. Shontel Greene.
Dale Huxton.
Now she couldn't wait to get that out.
You know what? I don't let a whole lot of people call me that. But we good.
But let me do a little something. I like that.
There's so much going on in the world right now, right? So much chaos. What's good in your world?
It is a lot of chaos going on in the world, but I try to stay focused. So in my world, I'm actually working on a movie, a SAG movie with Peter Allen. If you're not familiar with him, he wrote Takers.
Okay.
And he actually wrote my daughter's story. It's called Through the Eyes of a Hustler's Daughter. So I am so excited on that project.
All right, that works.
It does.
I don't quite have I don't have a TV show yet that I could talk about.
Yeah, you were all in the field. That's great. That is wonderful.
What's good in your world, Candace?
Well, you know, I'm going to go what I think today's show is going to be about. You know what's good? Change.
Change?
Yeah, change. Often people get thrown by change because you have to, change up your flow. You have to change up what you are used to, and it can interrupt what you have, but change is good. Change is good. Change always means that something better is coming. So change. And I think of your story, I think about change, and I think about going through and process and coming out on the other side. Change is good.
Having the ability to pivot.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I think about, when I think about COVID, like COVID was, obviously it was bad, right, for the world. But for people who knew how to pivot.
That was a good time.
Man, people who knew how to take advantage of, because now we're in a different world.
Oof, we are. I've heard people say, if I could just have a little more COVID, I know that sounds crazy, but just that time, because we went through it and it was all new. But now people wish they had that concentrated period of time because now they'd be better planners. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
with that time.
Sure,
now you know exactly what you do. We were all, staying up till 4 a.m., figuring it out. I know I was, but it would be a different time. I don't wish COVID back, but that time was good to process a lot of things. Yeah.
And in your pivot, you have a healthcare business.
Yes.
Right? And how long have you been rocking that?
So I've been in business for 15 years. Okay. Through my trials and tribulations, I realized that I love senior citizens. Like, I learned a lot from them. I always surrounded myself with older people, and I gained a lot of knowledge. And I took care of my grandmother, and she lived with me until she turned 90. So I gave her, like, the best life ever. Like, we was at the casino every Sunday, gambling, making money. And I said, you know what? I messed up so much. Let me give back. So I decided to open up a healthcare company catered towards senior citizens. And I give them the best quality of life that I can.
So was it that you saw because you know I'm all about like entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurial mindset. Was it that you saw a need and created the business? How did it start out?
Yes. Basically, I kind of went to prison. I was allowed to go to college in prison and become a registered nurse. So I worked in the hospitals. And I realized I wasn't a worker, but I did get to see the poor treatment of not only my other people, but people of different social economic standards. And I just couldn't rock with that. So I said, what can I do to make things different? And that's what I sought out to do.
Yeah, because, you know, often with senior citizens, they're often neglected.
Very much. You would be surprised.
Yeah, but I would imagine that, like you said, you got a lot of knowledge and still probably get a lot of wisdom from them, people who are facing their end of life, maybe perhaps, or closer to it. What have you learned?
You know what? I've learned I'm so different than most. I don't have to show my face, but I do because they want me. I just learned to, it's not about me. I don't put myself first. My patients are my world. It's like I can walk in the center and they see me and somebody can say one thing to me. They 80, 90. I got my oldest resident is 102. You say the wrong thing to me, she ready to fight.
Really?
What she say to you? So, and they hug me, you know, and I had patients tell me like, I stay alive because of you. Like, you make such a difference in my life. So when they tell me that, it just make me go harder for them. I'm counted out in my town. I'm like, you know, they look at my history, they look at my past, they judge me for who I used to be. But it just make me go harder. It make them, you know, it make people realize, guess what? Keep doing that because I'm going to keep getting bigger. I'm going to keep getting better. Before I knew it, I was in Forbes magazine for the largest growing African-American business in the country. I ranked number 98 in the nation. I was in Black Enterprise. Just being noticed, I had like the top people reaching out to me in business, like, how can you help me build? I was like, you know what? It's not about having money. Just be yourself. That's how I build. I don't put no effort in it. I'm just myself. I don't change for nobody, you know. If I see somebody need some, I'm very giving, like, because once you had money, money is nothing to me now. I was a kid. I was a millionaire, like, from hustling. Like, so money to me is like the root of all evil. So I just be me. Whatever I do, I'm always me. I don't change. People like, why you here? Oh my God, I can't believe she here. Oh, you interact with the patients like that? Why wouldn't I? I'm no better than nobody else. Money don't make me.
How do you get young people to understand that about money?
Well, it comes with the time. It comes with experience. Like, I'm not just a person that can say I had money. I've been shot multiple times. I've been kidnapped. I've been stabbed. I've been in predicaments where guns was in my face. I was about to get my head blown off and here come a helicopter. So what I try to tell the kids, everything that look good isn't good. Like, my life, I really think God has me here to give that message because I know I'm not supposed to be here today. I don't know how I survived life. I don't know why I'm still standing. I don't even think about it anymore, but I think I'm just here to tell young people, like, work hard. It took me to become a little older. It took me actually to go to prison. I had a wonderful judge. And one thing about me, I always wanted to get out of that lifestyle. I was in it because my mother was a drug addict. It all started because my mother was about to get set out. So I had to do something to save our home. But I just got addicted to the money and addicted to what I was doing. And, you know, when you have so much money as a teenager or as a young person, people look at you like, God, you don't wait in lines. It's just, I think it was just the rush. And God had to put me down in prison where I couldn't eat what I want. It didn't matter what I had. I couldn't do what I wanted in jail. It was like a certain time I had to be in bed and I couldn't eat my steak I couldn't drive my cars. And I think God chose this judge, and he was Caucasian. And he looked at my grades, because one thing about me, I always went to school. I never missed a day out of school. Never. I'm still in school. I get my PhD actually in 3 months. I've never missed a day. So when the judge realized she's a bad girl, but she likes school, my sentence was, you get out of jail when you get a degree. So I stayed in jail until I graduated. And once I graduated and just sitting in that jail, I just seen like, this isn't the life that I want to be a part of. Like, I really want to change. So even to this day, it's a lot because I still had those habits. Like, I don't look at prices. I just put it on the counter. And I'm trying to get out of those modes that I had. It's not easy, but just take it day by day.
You know, I would imagine that there's somebody out there who will be watching this or listening to this that sees themselves in you. What would you tell them, right? That person who likes that money, keeps going, and that kind of really feeds something that they really want to stop. How would you guide them?
To be honest, I would tell them it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm like one of those people. I would go in stores and they would lock the door because I come in the store, because I was spending that type of money. And it's just a process of changing who you are, changing who you are. They would have to take it one day at a time. And like now, my mayor, you know, the politicians, they love me, but they gotta hide the relationship with me. But my whole town respects me. So when you get all these murders and all these killings, I might get a call. Can you go out there on the corner and talk to these young people? And when I go out there and talk to them, they stop. But they won't address me in front of everybody because of that.
Even though you've got this successful business, you've made a pivot, you live a whole different kind of life, there's still...
I think it's a persona. I went to an event called Black Girls Vote, and that's a big political event. And I was seated at the head table. I was with the mayor, I was with the governor, and everybody else. And I got a call from the founder the next day that people were whispering around the room saying, why is that drug dealer sitting at the table with the governor and the mayor? So I get that a lot. And then I say, but when they shooting and killing each other, y'all reaching out to me to pull up and tell these kids, stop. And when I tell them to stop, the ones I know from my neighborhood, they stop.
But you know, that really tells me really who has the power in that particular dynamic.
Sure.
And they know it.
Yeah.
They know it. They're not going to never say it, but they know who had the power.
Yeah, it's that public perception that people are scared about. When quite frankly, your life and your story that you've shared with everybody, I mean, if we knew everything about everybody else at that table, everybody's got something in their past. They're just not wearing it on their shoulder like you are. Yeah, that's a really brave thing. You know what I mean? To really show yourself and be vulnerable and share with everybody everything that you are. Because the field that you're in now, you know, you've taken your story to the next level. All these questions are always asked of you, and you've just opened up yourself. That's real power right there.
That was hard to do. I swear I would never have opened up. It got to the point where people was calling the board of nursing. How you got a drug dealer being a nurse? How is this? So it became like so loud that I had to tell my story. I actually got a governor's pardon. When I got released from prison, the governor pardoned me to become a nurse. So I had to get a pardon in order to sit for my state boards and actually become a nurse. So I was legally able to become a nurse. And then my nursing board was plagued with thousands of letters about me. But the patients love me. The doctors love me. And it's so crazy because the doctors that were nice enough to give me the job, they work for me now. So it's like, okay, you see how I go. But and I love them, don't get it wrong. But they eventually, once I walked away from the work world and open up my own business, they just like, this girl was killing. And they came to me and I was like, let's do it. And they all contract with me and they actually have bigger practices by working with me than working in a hospital.
Comrades, if you're enjoying this episode, join the conversation and make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Nah.
So there's something I think about a thread through your life and your businesses, if you will, that entrepreneurial, again, I go back to the entrepreneurial spirit. Like even at 14, you had that sense of business, if you will. What do you we talk about hip hop on the show all the time.
Yeah.
But like when you listen to hip hop, like having lived the world that so many rappers rap about,
and
right?
And that so many of them aren't even living.
Right.
They're just rapping about it.
How does that land on you? Because you hear these stories, but you have like the real stories and the real live experiences and the kidnappings and being shot and all of that. How does the music land on you?
I think if you really haven't experienced it, it's something that makes people feel as though they got a big chest because it happened to them. But if it really happened to a lot of them, they wouldn't be talking about it. Because you see death. I know I have. I've seen death right before my eyes so many times. Even like with my daughter, and that's what my movie is about. Her father and I were drug dealers. We were fighting the same. His mother was an alcoholic. My mother was a heroin addict. So we were fighting the same cause. But my daughter was actually walking up to her father and his friend shot him in his head. And he had just enough wind to shoot his friend back. And they both died in front of my daughter. By then, I'm a nurse. My daughter calling me at the hospital like, Ma, how do you do CPR? My father's about to die. So I'm like, when you really experience those things, it makes me question about the music. Did you really live it? Because a lot of things with that life, you're traumatized. Like, I can't sit with my back turned. When people go out with me, they think I'm crazy. I can't sit with my back turned. When I'm in Maryland, I have security with me 24/7. Like, and not that they would do anything to me. It's just that so much has happened to me. That's just what I feel as though I have to do. So it's just like when I listen to the music, some people have lived it, but to what extent? Because a lot of things you wouldn't talk about if you really lived that life. It's traumatic.
Right, and that's the part you don't hear about the trauma.
Yeah, it's traumatic. Like it's very traumatic. Like I'm always thinking somebody following me to this day. If a car behind me, I ride around 1,000,000 times because I got to make sure they not following me home. And I live in like a community where, that's least likely to happen. But I'm just always on my P's and Q's. I don't drink. I don't smoke. If I'm tired, I don't come out. It's just the trauma has gotten me to that extent of how I move. I move very careful. I don't allow new people in my space. I don't think I can never be regular like I would want to be. I could never live regular because I'm so used to how I lived from the age of 14 on up. So I move different, so different.
How do you deal with the trauma? Or have you been? Do you go to a therapist, church maybe?
I tried the therapist.
I
don't think that's for me.
Really?
I buried myself into work. I speak of one business I spoke to. I actually have 3 major healthcare businesses. I have over 1,000 clients. So I stay busy. One thing I do, I cater to the Medicaid system, which are mainly a lot of my people live in public housing or so I bury myself into work so I don't even have time to think about all the other stuff. I'm always working.
Sounds like what we all do.
I know, right?
Yeah, always. I have like 6 assistants and It's just, I'm always working.
Had you ever thought about like moving away from Maryland just to kind of get a fresher perspective?
Can I be honest with you?
Please.
There's no money like Maryland money. I'm going to be honest. A person can move to Maryland. I don't know what it is about Maryland. You gonna make the money. I think my fear is if I go somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to watch my businesses as closely.
Yeah.
And then when you're dealing with senior citizens and my clientele, they want me. They don't want nobody else. They want Shontel. They just want me. Like I have a 70-year-old, he was having a heart attack. They were calling 911. He said, I'm not going to the hospital. I said, why? He said, I got 5 women. I'd rather die than for them to be over my hospital bed. So
that's great.
I'm literally jumping out my bed 4 o'clock in the morning, making him go to the hospital. Then I had to put a restriction on his visit. No visit because he got 5 women. So then the next day he calls me. I'm the boss of the company. I need you to go to Macy's, get me some silk pajamas, silk slippers. I said, why? He said, my roll popped open and they thought I was under the knife. And them nurses was like, God damn, he packing. So that's
your life.
I had to go to Macy's and get him some silks.
Oh, gosh.
So that's why I had to stay around because I love doing that for them. Like, that's how they work me. They work me.
Wow. You know, it's funny because I think about everything that you've been through, but then to see you here, so much joy, so much light, so much kind of just full kind of circle. Was this the 14-year-old too?
No.
Okay. I mean, before you got in, were you joyful and was this?
No, because I never had a childhood.
Okay.
Like, my mother took me to the amusement park. My mother took me to the movies. My mother took me to the zoo. I never had that life. So it's like now that I'm financially able to, I get to take my granddaughter to all those places. And I don't tell her, but I'm like a kid too a little bit because I ain't never did this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so happy because I'm living the life that I never got to live. And it's not about money. Like, I can go to the playground and I'm just so happy because I never did that with my mother.
So what would you say to young girl, young man, 14 in the position you were in? Like, whether it's, my parents are sick, I need to make money. How would you advise them or guide them?
14, if I had a chance to do it all again, I wouldn't have never did it. 14, get a job, McDonald's, wherever. Nobody wants to live that life that I lived, and I wouldn't want nobody to live that life that I lived. I mean, I'm fine now. I get to laugh and I get to joke, but I just remember all the moments, all the negative, because when you have money, you become a target, especially being a female. You have to be smarter than everybody around you. Like, there's no time. My friends would drink, but they weren't in the streets. They would drink, they would smoke weed. I couldn't do none of that because I had to always be focused. I had to be the smartest one. I had to, read books. I had to learn to be better. I had to it was a lot of pressure on me as a child, and I wouldn't want that pressure on anybody else. Even when I see these kids out here, I hate to say it, I understand. Like, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but now this day and age, it's a lot of other things that the kids can do. We just have to put them in the right direction to do those things. When I was coming up, you couldn't get a job till you were 16. Now you can get one when you're 14. So it's just, the world is a lot different. We have to take advantage of the opportunities that we have now that we didn't have back then.
I'm really interested in your perspective on the government.
Oh, God.
Come on now.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, right. The government, and when drugs came into inner cities, Black communities, let's be real. I mean, we're talking about post the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and then drugs, just like infusion of drugs. And then so many things that I know you can fill in the blanks on. But what can you tell us that we really can't see because you were in it? I know I hear about it, and you know, people getting stopped on the turnpike, and of course the profiling that went up, and the drug trade from New York to Baltimore. But what's your perspective on the government involvement in drugs and being in the middle of it, and what you actually saw?
Honestly, people think it is the African American community that is number one with these drugs. It's actually not. I was a teenager and I dealt with Hispanic, Colombians, and Russians. So I know that the drugs didn't originate from us. And I was a turnpike girl. I just developed a system that was out of this world. I was a teenager. I met an elderly couple. They was Caucasian. They was in their 80s. They had a camper. So nobody was going to ever look at them. So I rolled right past. Police will pull me over, but my little old people with their camper, they coming right on past. But the government has a lot to do with it. I do believe that. I believe there's no stopping it because they make a lot of money off of the drugs. Like, drugs will never go out of style. It'll be a different form, but it won't stop. It won't. Too much money in it.
Right, for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And then now your legal drugs, well, some like your Percocet, your Oxy, it's a pill era now.
Right.
So now you taking legal drugs, but you taking them through an illegal channel. You know, they're easier to get because you don't have to go to New York. You don't have to go to Colombia. They right here in your face.
Right.
You got the pharmacists that they like the money, so the pharmacists selling them. It's crazy. If I had a chance to do it again, I would never do it again, though.
Mm-hmm.
I would have went foster care.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Your grandmother was probably a praying grandmother. I want to know about her a little bit.
Oh, that was my baby. My grandmother was the type, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, you could tell, your granddaughter's selling drugs. No, she not. It's somebody that looked like her. I'm tired of y'all getting her confused with her. So my grandmother was great. I took care of her till she died. Nobody could tell her anything about me. But if my grandmother knew about my mother, it would have killed her. So my grandma was like my favorite person in the world. So I hid my mother's addiction from my grandmother because I did not want her to know. I didn't want to break her heart. She thought so much of my mother. I was like, if this lady know my mother on her, when it would kill her. So I got my mother high, made sure she stayed in the house, made sure she had somewhere to live, made sure she had food, just hid her from the world. And then she started looking different, and I remember the lesions growing on her face, and I will never forget. It was Ronald Reagan. It was during the 80s era, and he was talking about the epidemic of AIDS. And my mother wound up having a seizure, and I didn't know she had AIDS. I had no clue because I'm getting a high. How you using dirty needles? I'm bringing clean needles in the house. And I'll never forget that I heard Ronald Reagan call it a Faggot disease. And then my mother has a seizure. 911 is coming in. Her best friend sent me downstairs to get the medicine. I heard the ambulance says that she has HIV and AIDS. I say no. I go downstairs and I heard my mother girlfriend say her daughter don't know it, but she has AIDS. So that really put me in a whole different, like, I don't give a fuck mood. So I hustle harder. It was just like a lot of things I did it was to camouflage my pain, not because I really had a need to do it. It was a camouflage of my pain.
Like any addiction.
Any
right?
addiction.
And the money was the addiction for you.
Exactly. I was hurting so bad. So, all right, let me go buy me a Benz today. I might be hurting. Let me get a fur coat. And it was all, not that I even cared about any of that. It was just a camouflage of my pain. Everything I did was camouflaging my pain. It was meaningless to me. Like, I had every Benz that they ever made.
Wow.
The Benz deal. I wasn't even old enough to have a car. I had a military guy that I would pay and he would get all my stuff for me. So anything I wanted, I would get. And it was just like, I was like the talk of the town. I was the first one had a Bentley in Maryland. And they was like, this girl was on fire. And they giving me all these bragging rights, but I'm hurting so bad because now I just heard my mother got AIDS. So then I had to research AIDS. So that's why I got a master's degree in chemistry. Because I didn't want my mother to die. I said, I got to do something. I went double majored, got my bachelor's in nursing, got my master's in chemistry. Then I went back and got my master's in nursing. And I said, I'm going to find a cure. But she died before the time. So I just a degree that I wasted. But I tried.
So the fact that you had that life but was also in school.
I was good. Exactly. Yeah. That's a lot.
So why was, because you have this lavish lifestyle, you have, more money than you even know what to do with. What was the lure of school, still going to school?
Well, my grandmother was an educator. So I always had morals and principles. I had manners. Like if you didn't know me, you would never know I hustled. I said, thank you, no thank you, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Like I was the perfect child. I just was hiding this thing from my grandmother. So my grandmother was an educator. So she always taught me, like, I don't care what you do in life, always stay in school. She said, your education is going to be your outlet. And I had to please her. Mm-hmm. I had to give her those report cards that said 100 or A. So it was all about her. It wasn't about me until I got older and realized, like, when I finished, when I went to court, I was supposed to get 15 years. Because the crazy part, I never got arrested for drugs, ever. I never got caught. I got locked up, but I never got found guilty. I got locked up because I allowed a fool to drive my car and they robbed the damn bank. And I wasn't to tell. No snitching in Baltimore, Maryland. So I took that charge. That's what I went to jail for, bank robbery.
That's right. I remember
I laughed to this day, but I never went to jail for drugs. I got locked up for drugs, never been convicted. Never been convicted for drugs.
It had nothing to do with the robbery, so you were...
Right. I had 18 drug arrests, but I never been convicted. Always got found not guilty. But it was the robbery that sent me to jail. So, in the end, what my grandmother said was right, because this judge didn't give me 15 years because of my education. He gave me college. So I went to jail Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I had to turn myself in. I stayed in jail Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I was in 4 days, out 3 days, and I could only go to school. They would only let me out to go to school.
Mm-hmm. How much of that do you think it was because you were a woman? I mean...
I think it was more so my lawyer.
Okay.
It's a long story behind my life. Like, my uncle was like one of the main characters, The Real Wire, not the television show. He was like one of the main characters. So his federal prosecutor became my lawyer. I used his federal prosecutor. Once he became a lawyer, I retained him at the age of 15. I told you, I always listen to older people. So they was like, if you're going to be in the streets, make sure you lawyered up. So at the age of 15, I retained Brian Murphy, who was still my lawyer today. And he was like the lawyer of all lawyers. He still is. Kept me out of trouble. So I think his relationship with the judge got me what he got me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a very important point. And we've talked about that here on the show, and that you can have, a prosecutor or you can have a defense attorney, but it really is about the relationship that they have and what's going on behind the scenes with the judge. You need to know those judges. You need to know how they work. You need to know the right words and phrases. And seems like you got one.
And they cost a lot of money.
And they cost a lot of money. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like you're paying for their relationship.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So I think it was my lawyer. And another thing that I have a retired FBI supervisory agent. Her name is Stacey Aruna. She is actually the one that cracked the Hillary Clinton email case.
Oh, okay.
I have her on retainer as well. Just in case I slip in business, she got to pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like with me, I always had to prepare for the best. I always had to prepare for the worst. So I keep the retired FBI agent on my payroll and I keep my lawyer on retainer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I was listening to an interview you were doing, and I was really fascinated by Tony.
Oh, my baby.
Right, like just that we talk about friendships,
right?
But so can you tell us? Can you talk about her? Because I think that's
Antoine Deneen Baldwin. We were best friends since we was kids, and I kind of found out after the time why she went that way. We were like best friends, and she was a little bit more street than me. She was in them streets. Actually, we had got pulled over. They didn't find drugs in the car, so that is, if you probably heard of the Gun Trace Task Force, they actually did a movie. HBO did a feature movie. Talking about the Gun Trace Task Force, but this was the first crew. So they wanted me so bad, they could not get me. I was probably 16. Every car I bought, it had a keyless entry. I would never buy a car that I had to use the key. Because if I had the key, then they could take the key and go in the car. If I had keyless entry, they had no problem with cars to get in the car.
Right.
That's how I had to think all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine it was stressful. Mm-hmm. So we were in the car driving. They pulled us over. All of a sudden, all these drugs was in the trunk, so they say. So actually, we went to court. She was actually my co-defendant on the case. I didn't know she was getting high at all. She was one of them girls, pretty as hell. And you just could never tell she got high. And she was like my biggest cheerleader. So we went to court, and we knew we was getting ready to get found guilty because you had like 7 police saying the stuff was in the trunk of my car. But they lied. So she told my lawyer, I'm pleading out. And my lawyer said, what you mean you pleading out? Shontel didn't have anything to do with this. It was all mine.
Did she tell you she was going to do that?
No. So my lawyer said, did you talk to Tony? I said, no. He said, she want to take this whole charge. I said, I'm not going to let her do that. So we got in a hallway. I said, what are you doing? She said, Shontel, I got a lot going on. She said, you know I love you with all my heart. She said, you don't deserve this. You're too smart. She said, I need you to go to college and be the best person you can be. She said, I got AIDS and I need a break. She said, I've been getting high for a long time. She said, and I can't be the person that you want me to be. And she went to jail. She did 10 years for me. She got 10 years. And I walked out that courtroom. Yep. And when she came home, let me tell you, I tried everything. I let her live with me. I would never let an addict live with me. I let her live with me. I took her to the mall. I had a hairdresser on speed dial, fingernails done. And 2 days, she came to me. She said, I know you love me and I love you. She said, but I can't be you. She said, Shontel, I want to get high. And when I walked in the door, her stuff was packed. And I said, I cried. And she said, don't cry. She said, this is who I am. And she said, I want to get high. I'm sorry, I get emotional when I talk about her. And I freed her, but I took care of her. Like she would never ask me for money because out of all people, she stole from my mother, she stole from my grandmother, never stole nothing from me. But I would make sure she had something to eat. If it was cold, I would go get her coats, long johns, clothes, everything. Like I did everything for her. I became her payee, and then it got to the point she'd be at my house 5 o'clock in the morning. I need my check. I need my whole check. That got on my nerves. But anyway, I loved her to death. I put her in rehab. She beat the whole place up. They kick her out. She was worse than my mother, I'm gonna tell you. But at the end, somebody came to my house. They said, we want to tell you she in the house dead around the corner. And that killed me. It killed me every day. And then her family, they wouldn't let me bury her. You know how families are.
Yeah.
It just, Yeah, that's like the most hurtful thing I ever experienced because she was a real one. That girl did 10 years. She did not call me one time when she was locked up. She just wanted me to be great. Out of anybody that wanted me to be great, it was her.
Hey, comrades, if you are enjoying the episode, join the conversation. Like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Don't get yourself blocked. Keep it clean.
And you know what I see in all that between your mother, your grandmother, Tony, that's the nurse being born right there.
Yep.
You know, all the things that you're talking about, that really is what someone who takes care of other people do. So I guess it's not that surprising, right? I can imagine that you have this caring spirit. You've always had it.
Oh, yeah. Just made bad choices.
And I said, having people pour into you and being the recipient of that makes you want to pour into others. Yep. Yeah.
Here's on the notes.
So I watch Raising Cain.
Oh God.
And I say that because I have had so many people, Black women, recommend it to me. And by the way, they've all been lawyers and judges, which I find very interesting. Like, you have got to watch it, got to watch it. And so when I think about Raising Cain, I mean, I certainly think about your story. I mean, there are so many parallels, but I think that the reason that they wanted me to watch it, or the reason why they loved it, is because of the power, or there's something fascinating with a Black woman being in charge, and, you know, in a very,
right.
You know, and I wonder, do you get that, like that, why people are intrigued, or do you understand the intrigue that outsiders might have about your life, even though, you know, had you done it all again and you had other chances, you wish it would have been another way. But certainly there's that intrigue and that power that I see people see it as it's kind of alluring.
Yeah and nay.
Yeah.
The power get the feds on you all the time. Like, I done been through so many house races, just like I can see when you got money, everybody clings to you. Like, it's so crazy. When I had street money, like, I had so many friends, like so many friends. Now that I guess I call myself a rejuvenated citizen, it's a little different because now I'm not on the same magnitude as I was when I was in the street. So if I don't watch what I spend, I'm going to be broke. So now it's like, I just can't give. I can't go in a strip club and throw $50,000 no more. I could do that back then, but now I have to invest. You know, I have to buy properties.
I'm sorry. 50?
Well, back in the day.
Really?
Oh, God. I had a gambling habit. It was bad. We ain't even go there with the gambling. The gambling was worse than that. I had a really bad gambling habit. Told you, camouflage and pain, it costs a lot. Just camouflage and pain. I think when I used to gamble, the lights just used to do something for me. So I would gamble. And then my grandmother would gamble. So we two peas in the pods together.
Right.
No, you just, you know, when you hustling, it's free money. You're going to make it the next day. So fuck it up today because you're going to get it again tomorrow. That's how my mindset was. That's how anybody that's in the streets.
Yeah.
It's always tomorrow. Tomorrow never ends. It's always another day. Now, in the working world, hell no, anything can happen. It might not be like that. You know, so you have to think more responsible. Like, and I never had nobody to teach me anything. I walked into business not knowing, like, what business was, what it was about. I taught myself. I read books. I had to do what I had to do. Like, if something happened today or tomorrow, thank God I set myself. I do have a husband, and he's great, but he come from my world. So it's like we had to teach each other everything. Like, we taught each other how to flip houses. We taught each other how to buy stocks, the stock market, cryptocurrency. But they were things I didn't have a mother, and my father was a heroin addict as well. So I didn't have that upbringing to teach me how to prepare for the future. So when I had a daughter, she is 34. The first thing I did was open her a bank account, open her annuities, because I had nobody to do that for me. If something happened to dad or mom, my daughter's straight. Something happened to dad or mom, my granddaughter's straight. But nobody ever did that for me. When my mother died, she did leave me some money, but I didn't know the value of stocks and bonds. I didn't know the value of saving money, interest. I didn't know about financing because I never financed anything. I bought my house cash. I bought my cars cash. I never knew bills and FICA taking out your check and state taxes. I never knew nothing about that because everything I did was a cash transaction. So that scared the hell out of me when I walked away from hustling and got a job. Right, and I seen state, federal, FICA. What the hell is this? Right. They girl, I was like, I hit them streets and get something right. Yeah, I gotta get back out there. So I had to learn that because I wasn't used to that.
Yeah, the government is taking what? Yeah, no.
But nobody ever told me that.
Right.
I'm thinking I'm working. I'm doing overtime. I'm a nurse, so I was making all right money.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? I work 80 hours. 40 hours time and a half, and my check is what? I can't pay nothing with this. So that was a little transition for me too.
Welcome to that civilian life.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! And credit card bills and mortgages. I bought my house cash. My first house, I was 23. It had a movie theater. It had a swimming pool. It was a single family home. I never knew nothing about the mortgage. I had my army man. Here go the money. Do what you gotta do. I need to get this house. But then when I started to become normal and learned that I had to be normal in life and pay bills, and like, what the hell is this shit? So that was a
look. Some of us still say that when we get our
oh my God,
our paycheck. Yeah, no, it's a thing.
And stay federal and FICA. Oh, hell no. I got to get out this work world. I got to get this. I can't. So that was something else that was a huge transition for me. All that money they taking out your check. Yeah, that was huge.
So what gives you an adrenaline rush now?
Because I'm still living and I know I'm not supposed to be. It's like every encounter, even when I finished. I walked away from the streets. I had all these college degrees. People still look at me like a drug dealer. So the police, I'm still dealing with people robbing me. I'm still, I got kidnapped 10 years after I wasn't in the streets anymore. I literally got kidnapped. So it's just like when I look at how many times I escaped death, it's like, now I can breathe. And then I have a really good husband. And we from the same world. If you are familiar to the movie Paid in Full, my husband is one of the real characters. So he had double life in prison and he became a lawyer in jail and he freed himself and then he went back and freed all his co-defendants. All but except Rich Porter, because, he died. So 2 hustlers together, L minds together, girl, we can sit down and think of some $1 million plans.
I bet.
But, I feel so much safer than him with him because he's a real man. Like, I always controlled my men because I had the money.
Right.
So they do what the fuck I say. But him, no. I'm scared to even say too much out the way to him. So I needed that stability with him.
Yeah.
But I feel so much safer with him and I'm so much happier. And we had the strangest relationship, but it's workable.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It's workable.
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who says, that dynamic that you are describing, it's nice to have someone, she has said, now that she's in a relationship, it reminds me of yours, to make some decisions, to be in charge sometimes, to not have to always worry about the money and to everything. And you were definitely worrying about everything. And it's nice to have someone to share that. That's right. It really is.
And he different though. See, he was in a whole nother level than me. His money was like here. So he like his Fred Sanford pickup truck. He gonna drive that thing till it hit the ground. Whereas though, I have a Rolls Royce car, I have a Rolls Royce truck. I'm just so flashy. I have my G-Wagon. I have my car collection. He had these trucks. and they sit all the way to the ground. And I be like, why don't you get a new truck? He like, baby, I'm going to be Fred Sanford till I die. He like, you do that. Let me do this.
Oh, my goodness.
It works.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a day when you said, you know what? I'm getting out of this game. Come Valentine's Day?
My mother died when she asked
that was that
on
day.
Her deathbed.
Okay.
She said.
And that was it was cold turkey.
Cold turkey, walked away. She gave me an insurance policy. She said, make it work. You got to get out of this. You're going to die. And I never sold a drug again. I focused more on school after that day.
Yeah, I bet there were some people who didn't believe you when you said you were out of the game.
Nobody
like that transition out
Mm.
had to have been, like you said, a lot of people knocking at your door.
Nobody believed it.
Right? It's like, how do you get out, though?
Yeah.
The good thing with me, I had got to a stage where I wasn't the worker anymore. I was more so a transporter. I had my little thing. I charge everybody tax. I would go get my camper people to bring it back. And if it cost $13,000, I might charge $18,000. So I wasn't really in it where I'm actually selling the product.
Mm.
I'm just making sure everybody get their weight.
Mm.
So it was easy for me to walk away, but I caused a major drought in Baltimore City. Because if you ain't go through me, it was hard to get.
Mm.
Do you sleep well at night now?
Now I do.
Okay.
Yeah, girl, my 2 pit bulls and my cat. Yes, I do.
The pit bulls don't hurt.
My little Lucky and my Blue. Yeah, I sleep very well. Actually, I don't sleep a lot, but when I do sleep, I sleep well. I've been out of the streets for 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
I lost all my friends. Everybody that was in the streets with me. If I had one left, that's it. Everybody dead and gone. Like, I'm like, how am I here and they gone? Like, that's mind blowing.
I heard Mike Tyson talk about going to jail is actually, for him, the best thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah, when you used to eating good and they served you that slap. I lived off of Snicker bars. And I had this boy, I lied and told him I was his girlfriend. I couldn't stand it, but he had a job. Because by me coming in, I couldn't get commissary. So the only thing there was for me to eat was jail food. So I had to lie to this boy, act like I was his girlfriend, act like we was going to be together. And he would give me like 3 Snicker bars every day. I lived off of 3 Snicker bars every day.
Mm.
I could not eat that food. Them girls was dying they head with that punch. Mm-mm. But I was selling cigarettes in there. I was making a lot of money.
You know what?
That entrepreneur.
I mean,
I was selling them cigarettes.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you.
Yeah.
For your joy, your level of integrity, your gratitude, and being able to make that pivot and have a life that brings you joy and being able to smile and having a good life.
If I may ask you, your conversations with God, what are they like?
Oh, I actually stopped believing in God when I was younger, but when I seen my life changing, because I was like, how would God take my mother away from me? How would God? But as I got older and I seen my world transform it into a positive mode, then I had to apologize. But they good, because I talk to him all the time. And it's not like he kind of talk back, but he show you. You know what I mean? You get it some kind of way.
Yeah.
You get the feeling or
a sign.
A sign. So it's good.
Not all hood.
Not all hood.